I call the member for Kooyong.
Debacle of the member for Throsby not being present. I wanted to debate the Scottish Svengali, John McTiernan, on his 457. I wanted to debate that in the House and why the TWU had employed three people in its head office for 457.
Will get to the amendments,
but here I am finding myself debating an important amendment here that we have put forward about the right of entry. And the reason why we have to debate this point is because the Labor Party has done a backflip under the pressure of the unions. They're paymasters in the unions. Shame on you, Labor Party. Shame on you. Not only is it good enough that 50% of all votes at the Federal Labor Caucus, the Federal Labor conferences go to the unions, but 100% of the members of those opposite in the caucus are members of the union. But if you go to the number of members of union according to across the private sector of Australia, only 13% of Australians in the private sector are members of the union. But here we have a right of entry provisions that this government wants to introduce to allow union bosses to go into the lunchtime hours of private sector workers across the country. What about 87% of the workers who are not members of the union? They want to eat their burger and chips in quiet. They want to have their coat in quiet. They don't want to have the union bosses storm into their lunchtime hours and try to recruit them. If it wasn't good enough, the Labor Party, whether it was on the childcare sector, whether it was on the aged care sector, you made your payments to those sectors contingent upon them joining a union. Now you've taken it to the workplaces of every private sector employer in the country. And that's not good enough, Madam Deputy Speaker. That's not good enough, because it wasn't a recommendation. It wasn't a recommendation of the Fair Work Review panel that was handpicked by those on the other side. You handpicked your own reviewers, led by Professor McCullum, and they didn't even recommend this amendment before the House. That's why the pie man, Bill Shorten, the member for Maribyrnong, that's why he said that he was going to remove this amendment, but now he's got the phone call from the TWU and the CFMEU and the AWU, who've all rung his office at once and said, bring back that right of entry provision. Now, I tell you what's outrageous about this, Madam Speaker. What is absolutely outrageous is because it's in breach of the Prime Minister's promise to the Australian people. We had a promise from the Prime Minister about the carbon tax. We had promise from the Prime Minister about private health insurance. We had a promise from the Prime Minister about family tax benefit A. And now we had a promise from the Prime Minister about right of entry. Now, this is what the Prime Minister said about keeping the right of entry provisions as they were. And I quote the Prime Minister, National Press Club debate on the 8th of November 2007. I'm happy to do whatever you would like. If you would like me to pledge to resign, yes, we would. If you would like me to sign a contract in blood, yes, we would. If you would like me to take a polygraph, yes, we would. If you would want me to bet my house on it, yes, we would. If you would want me to give you my mother as a hostage, yes, we would. Whatever you would like, we're going to keep the right of entry provisions as they are. How outrageous is that? I say to the Independents, how outrageous that the Prime Minister goes to the Australian National Press Club, tells the people across this country, all 23 million of them, and says we are going to keep the right of entry provisions as they are. Again, Julia Gillard in a media press release on the 28th of the 8th, 2007. As announced today, Federal Labor will maintain the existing right of entry rules without exception. Well, they haven't, Mr Deputy Speaker. They haven't. And we know, through the economic reforms that we introduced, that we delivered 22% increase in real wages, 2 million new jobs, we paid back $96 billion of debt, we lifted the credit rating from AA to AAA, and we doubled the crane works on our waterfront, and we saw 2 million new jobs. That was as a result of our workplace relation reforms and our prudent economic management. You, on the other side, have broken promise after promise to the Australian people, come into this House, done a backflip of all proportions, and now are saying to every employer of Australia, your lunch breaks Your lunch rooms are not safe because we will be in there at the first opportunity. Shame on you, Labor Party. Shame on you.
The question is the amendments be agreed to.